hold on the apparent touchdown that Ron Baker had called back on the opening possession.
It might have been worse if that would have been called back.
And everybody's forgetting about that now. Here's McCoy. Bounces off a tackler and gets near midfield, and that's the J.R. McCoy that Fairbanks is used to seeing, breaking tackles and getting forward.
It's obvious that he has a lot of good ability. He has good, quick feet. He has good vision. He makes great cuts. Just hasn't had a lot of holes to run in so far yet. The defense has been overwhelming in the first half.
Just a sophomore, and a good one.
Not a lot of size, but it looks like a good, hard, determined runner.
Bridgeport compared McCoy to Ryan Greer out of Barnesville. They were the same number, and they run about the same way.
Gets a lot of yardage out of every effort.
Here he is, McCoy. McCracken comes up and makes a nice play from his cornerback position. Nick Whitmore is complaining he was held, and he might have had a gripe.
But it's some more good, quick moves. Made the first guy miss. Were able to pick up another 3 or 4 yards after the first contact.
So down 30, Fairbanks doesn't come out throwing. They go to their bread and butter, running the football.
I think Coach Wiersbecky said at halftime that they would go back to their game plan, try and establish some good offense, get some momentum going here, and see what happens.
So 2nd and 7, line of scrimmage to Bridgeport 47. Bridgeport showing blitz, and they're coming. Grant is pressure, but it completes it to Hodges, the tight end. He has a first down as he slips out of Whitmore's tackle to the 37-yard line, and boy, we finally meekly hear the Fairbanks crowd on the far side. They finally have something to cheer about.
They completed that pass earlier in the game, late in the second half, and they tried it a second time. It was just off Hodges' fingers, so it is something they know they have, and I expect to see that again before long.
And now the Fairbanks faithful wants to get their team going. They have an opening second half drive going pretty good here. Man in motion is Stoney Gibson, and they hand it off to the fullback Nickel. Stopped at the line of scrimmage. Boder was there to stand him up. Fisher was there, 77, plus Jerry Moore and Pichetti.
Yeah, the entire defensive front for Bridgeport was there. Fairbanks had some good success running that play early in the first quarter. In fact, it was their best running play in the first quarter, a little quick trap to the fullback, but Bridgeport was ready for it this time.
2nd and 11. Now we'll see what Bridgeport's defense can do here.
Bridgeport fans obviously are looking for a shutout because they're up and wanting to stop them.
Here comes the blitz. Grant is back to throw. Hodges has it in and out of his hands. There's a flag on the far side of the field. Might have seen a Fairbanks receiver start up the field a little early, maybe a motion or an offside.
Again, great pressure there. Mike Pichetti that time up the middle of the line, able to beat his man, make the quarterback throw the ball before he was ready.
See, Coach, usually I'm with Bear Bechtel, the official that knows these calls before they happen, but he says that you coaches know the calls better than them sometimes.
I never watch the officials or pay any attention to them when I'm coaching. I haven't developed the ability to do 2 things at once yet.
You leave it up to Dan Buckwack and Jimmy Napolitan, right?
That's it. That's it. They do a great job.
So it's 3rd and 11.
Bridgeport decided to decline the penalty and put it in a 3rd and long situation.
Usually the sure-handed Hodges catches the football that time and in and out of his hands. And boy, the weather has cleared up nicely. It's a little cold, but I'm sure the players don't feel it. It's a nice night for football here.
Almost a perfect night for high school football.
And Grant is throwing. He's pressured and rolling out of there. Fires it downfield. Nearly an interception by Nick Whitmore. Number 2, the senior, nearly came down with a one-handed INT, but he knocks it down, which Bridgeport will take.
One of the few times that David Grant was able to get outside the defensive pressure, had a little bit of time to throw the ball, but Nick Whitmore had great coverage on it. There was no place to throw it.
We're going to have to tell Nick to start using 2 hands. On one of the receptions earlier, I almost caught it with one hand, and that time he almost intercepts him with one hand. Nick, you have 2 hands, my man.
He's going to make a great catch before tonight with one of those hands.
I hope. 4th and 11, punting situation. The left footer Hodges gets it out of there, and McCracken lets it go, and it hits the soft sod and bounces inside the 5. So, now Fairbanks has Bridgeport pinned down there, where Fairbanks was in the first half. A little deja vu here, turning it around in the second half.
Looked like Bridgeport was not setting up a return. They sent 9 guys after to try and block it, but good blocking on the front wall of Fairbanks.
And Coach Goodrich has put McCracken back to receive the last couple of punts rather than Kesterson. And
when Brian had his touchdown reception, he looked like his leg was giving him a little bit of trouble down in the end zone, and I'm sure that Coach Goodrich is thinking about next week yet and doesn't want to take any chances.
1st and 10 Bulldogs, their first possession of the second half, leading 30-0, and they go to Boder. Carrying tacklers. And he fumbles the football, although we cannot see very well, and we apologize for some of the shots that we have the light towers in. It's a television station's nightmare to have these towers in front of us.
Right, it's tough to see what happens looking through those light towers, Mike, but again, the first two people are unable to slow down or bring down Brian Boder. He always goes through at least 2 or 3 tackles before he stopped.
And he actually fumbled the football. It's hard to get the football at his vice lock when he locks it between his arms.
He might have squeezed it so hard it went flat before him.
2nd and 4. Split backs. And they go to Boder, who bounces off a man, and now 4 Panthers bring him down. So we have yet to see Whitmore carry the football. Whiteside made the stop. And
nice play by Jarrett. Played off the block very well, took on him square that time, and was able to stop him for a very little gain.
So it's 3rd and 3. And did Bridgeport punt in the first half? Did not attempt to punt in the first half. Didn't have to. They went for it on 2 4th downs, and they converted them. Although if it was a 4th down here, I don't think they'd go for it. Whitmore struggles close, and he did not get it. He'll be short of the 1st down. Might have gotten 1, but we'll see the Bridgeport punt unit for the first time in the night. And it's good when you're punting for the first time in the second half.
Yeah, it's a sign that you've done something right. I'm sure the second half is starting out a lot more like Coach Wiersbecky had in mind the game would start.
And the Bridgeport coaches were worried about their team coming out slowly like they did in your game. Although it might have been a case where your team came out quickly. And
well, the Bridgeport coaching staff made sure that didn't happen. The kids were really pumped up. You could tell it before the game started, and from the first play on, they were ready to go.
Low snap, but Doty handles it on a hop, and he's nailed. It'll be roughing the kicker, and Bridgeport will get another chance to get the football again. Wow.
What a bad break for Fairbanks. They come out, they ran some offense, they got a couple 1st downs. They shut Bridgeport down for the first time without getting a 1st down. We're going to have the ball in their own 35-yard line, and now they're playing defense again.
Hard break for Fairbanks because Ted Wiersbecky wanted to stop the Bridgeport juggernaut. They finally stopped him for the first time, then they roughed the kicker.
To Fairbanks' credit, they must have done some real serious talking at halftime, made some adjustments, and really looked like a state playoff contender starting the second half. But a critical mistake right there. Just a little over anxious and a little bad angle trying to block that punt.
Derek Doty, probably one of the bigger punters in the valley.
Has a great leg, great kickoff man as well.
Bridgeport football, 1st and 10 are out of the shadow of their own goal line, 27-yard line. And they go to Whitmore. Got back to the line of scrimmage if he's lucky.
Again, the Fairbanks defense doing a lot better job so far in this half, being able to shut the Bridgeport offense down so far.
I don't know if that was the right play call or not, because there were blockers going to the right and Whitmore went the other way.
Looked like a little counter trap back. They ran very successfully against us several times last week. Most of Bridgeport's offense is very direct. They get 2 or 3 backs in front, say this is what we're going to do, but they do throw some misdirection in there to keep that defense honest.
2nd and 10. They gave Whitmore nada on 1st and 10, and there are flags.
Very few flags in the first half. A very well-played game, but already several here in the second half.
Dead ball foul. Bridgeport penalty, false start.
And what was that signal? Oh, okay.
Illegal procedure.
Very quick. It looks like he was going like this.
I think it was traveling.
I think he was trying to keep his hands warm. I thought he was doing this.
Yeah, that's probably not a bad idea also.
Yeah. Well, Bridgeport coming out with not quite the power that it came out with in the first half.
It's really tough to maintain that intensity. You go into halftime with a big lead. It's really tough to maintain that intensity over the 20-minute halftime period.
They're back up there at 2nd and 15 near the 22-yard line. And Whitmore is stopped in the backfield. David Reinhardt, 52, got there and he had some help, but hey, Fairbanks is just pinning their ears back and coming too.
Fairbanks is doing a little bit of what Bridgeport did. They're starting to attack on defense, send more linebackers instead of sitting back and waiting.
They're saying if you want to throw, go ahead and throw, and we'll take our chances.
Yeah, I think they've decided that we're going to try our best to stop the run, and whatever else happens, happens.
That's usually the game plan against Bridgeport, but they have yet to be stopped. We stopped them a little bit. 3rd and 20, and Roskovich is going to throw. The screen was set up, but he got out of there.
They wanted to screen back to the right side to Boner, but it was well covered. Roskovich had to tuck it down and run it.
And Kevin Bugaya looks the most innocent out there, so you knew he held 51.
The screen has been a very, very good play for Bridgeport. They scored from long range against Union Local in a very big ball game early, about mid-season, and then last week against us, they had a perfect screen set up to Whitmer. An excellent play with blockers out in front. Made an easy 27-yard touchdown reception for Whitmer.
One of those screen passes was where Roskovich got hit and
they had it set up
down
for a screen, I think, in the last offensive play of the game, and
yep.
we were fortunate enough to break through and stop him before he's able to throw it.
Well, Bridgeport punting again for the 2nd time.
Looks more like Fairbanks setting up a return this time. It does not look like they're going to send people after it.
3 receivers back to receive the punt.
Very unusual punt return formation.
And it nearly hit a blocker, but it'll be downed at about the 49 by Whitmore.
So they did end up with pretty good field position.
3 return men on that play.
I've not seen that. Maybe they had some kind of reverse setup.
But you would figure they wouldn't tip it off like that. But
that's right. It looked like that's what they might do.
Well, they didn't, and the ball nearly hit a blocker. But it's Fairbanks football, good field position at the 49.
See if they can put another couple of first downs together here and try and get back into this ball game.
So all the roughing the kicker did was take time off the clock, and that's in Bridgeport's favor. It's a little worse field position than they would have had, but Grant goes to the air, and it's off the hands of Gibson.
A very, very good throw there by the quarterback, Grant. Put it right on the money, and that's really a pass that I'm sure Gibson would say he's going to catch 8 out of 10 times.
Grant was just 3 for 12 in the first half, make that 4 for 13, and unbelievably that Gibson and Hackett both have over 30 catches each. And if you look at the receivers and the tight end and the receivers and the running back and the quarterback's attempts, it's unbelievable how many plays that this team gets off a game, over 60.
60, 65 plays a game. Normally in high school, you are happy if you get all 55 plays a game.
Bridgeport's looking like they're blitzing, and Brian Boder was up there dancing, and when big Brian Boder's over you dancing, it's hard not to flinch.
Again, Fairbanks, though, is doing what they need to do. That was a very quick drop and a quick throw so that they can beat that blitzing defense of Bridgeport. That's the kind of plays that they're going to have to use if they're going to be successful.
Ted Rusbicki didn't want to see that happen.
No, just when they had a little bit of momentum going for them, a little mental mistake on the offensive line. Somebody jumped a little quickly.
They actually stopped Bridgeport twice. That in itself is an accomplishment.
And stopped him cold.
2nd and 15 at the 44-yard line. And Grant's going to throw again. A receiver fell, and he finds his man. Whitmore drives him down to the ground. Stoney Gibson made the reception. He fell initially.
And they're using some crossing patterns here. Bridgeport's man-to-man defense, though, you're able to cover crossing patterns a lot better than you are in a zone.
And Grant is down.
I know he's a big part of their offense all year long, running the ball and has 1,300 yards passing the ball. So that's not what Coach Wiersbecki wanted to see at this point in the season.
So now Fairbanks will probably be forced to bring in their backup quarterback. Grant looks like he's in some pain. He took a shot.
Looks like they're working on a knee or a thigh, or looks like they're checking out a knee. Again, that's exactly what Coach Wiersbecke did not want to see. I don't know.
And they are working on the knee, and Damon Phelps, a freshman, backup quarterback, is getting loose on the sidelines. Boy, you saw a freshman come into the game last week when Bridgeport was forced to put a freshman into the ball game when Roskovich was knocked out of there. They had their quarterback in there, Matt DeVore, and
fortunately for Bridgeport, though, Chad was all right, and I think he missed a total of one play until he got back in there.
And you knew Roskovich was coming back in that football game.
No way he was going to stay out. We were hoping he'd take a few more plays off than one, but that wasn't to be, so.
So Grant is up, and he's walking off, which is a good sign.
He's limping a little bit, but I would imagine that this is his playoff game, and he'll be out a couple plays, and I would hope they'd be back in for his sake.
And here comes the freshman, number 19, Damon Phelps. 5'10", 140.
What an experience for a young freshman, 14, 15-year-old, to be in a state playoff game. Something he'll remember for a long, long time. His heart's probably pounding a few beats per second.
You think Bridgeport's coming after him here?
I think Bridgeport's going to send everybody they have right at him.
Not showing blitz initially, but they're going to creep up there. Here they come. The pitch to McCoy. Bugaj turns him in, but McCoy runs through the blitz. Gets good yardage. They ran away from the blitzes outside. And hey, now with the quarterback out of this is McCoy's show now.
That's a great call by Coach Wiersbecke. Let that freshman quarterback take a snap and pitch it to the bread and butter man and get his feet wet here.
Well, we'll check on Grant and see if he's coming back in, but he is not in there. Can't tell where he went. Did you see him on the sidelines over there, Terry?
No, I do not. I don't see anybody. Oh, he's over there on the ground. They're still working on him. Looks to me like it might be more of a cramp than anything else. It looks like they're doing some rubbing, so hopefully he's not seriously injured and he'll be back in soon.
Nearing the 3-minute mark in the third, it's 30-0 Bridgeport, and Fairbanks has their biggest drive of the game going. They're blitzing again. McCoy is hit as he gets the football, but struggles for a couple of yards. Fisher was around his ankles, number 77.
He's beginning to show some signs of why he's a 1,500-yard ball carrier. He does have some good moves, and he's able to break a couple tackles, even though he's only 155 pounds.
Well, Grant is up over there on the far side, about the 43-yard line. He's testing those knees.
I would expect that JR is going to get a few more carries here in this series.
Damon Phelps, the freshman quarterback, forced into the game. Takes the snap and pitches to McCoy. Student body left, and he has some blockers. Nick Widmore and McCracken run him out of there, but it looks like Fairbanks finally won the war on the line of scrimmage there.
Putting some offensive plays together, mixing them up inside, outside, and getting McCoy a little bit of room so that he can run the ball a little bit. Another first down. Nice drive for Fairbanks here.
And Grant is still limping over there, noticeably on the far sideline. Bridgeport wants a timeout, and Matt Johnson comes in and
doesn't look like Coach Johnson's very happy with his defense at this point. He's trying to get them back to that mental state that they were when they started the game.
And I saw Matt's father, Dave, underneath, athletic director at Barnesville High School. He had a Bridgeport hat on.
I'm sure of that. I'm sure Dave is very proud of his son right now. I talked to Dave out at Barnesville just before Barnesville played Bridgeport and asked him what he felt about the game and who he was going to root for. He said he had a lot of mixed emotions.
And he had the Bridgeport hat on. I said, you better hide that.
Well, I
can root for Bridgeport tonight.
Yeah, that's right. It's okay at this point.
Coach Johnson, one of the many that took the razor this past week on the head.
Coach Johnson looks like he could play. Put that helmet on and get in there.
The whole staff could.
They are.
Corey Hall was the only one that didn't get his head shaved down. And Bridgeport is out there on defense. 1st and 10, 27-yard line. They're coming after the freshman again. McCoy has the pitch. He has some room. Bridgeport strings it out nicely. Widmore drives him out of bounds. Both the running backs going at it. We saw Your boy Drummond and Widmore get tangled up on the corners a bunch, and speed on speed that time. The two tailbacks go at it again out there.
Yes, Widmer tackled Eddie about 4 or 5 times. I think Eddie tackled Brian 4 or 5 times, and the same thing's happening here tonight. Although McCoy doesn't play defense, Widmer's met him a couple times. Fairbanks is going to the outside game, trying to use a little bit of speed and pitch the ball and get outside that blitzing defense.
2nd and 4.
I look for Bridgeport to stop blitzing so much inside and start attacking more from the outside.
And McCoy runs into Phelps, but gets out of there. Now he's showing some moves, and he ran right out of the hands of Omar Foston.
Yeah, that was a little broken play there. They a little mix-up in the handoff. I think that was supposed to be an off-tackle run to the right, but a little change in the little problem with the exchange, and McCoy just bumped it outside. Showed excellent speed there, Mike.
Man, and the freshman stays in. Damon Phelps. David Grant is still on the sidelines, but the freshman's moving the football team.
It looks like he's sitting over there on the bench, and they got his shoe off, and I don't know if they're icing him down or trying to wrap him. It looks like they're icing him down. So he may be out for a little bit.
You know he wants to get back in there, but it's a matter of can he walk. He was limping noticeably on the sidelines. Bridgeport switching around on defense. 1st and 10 at the 14. They pitch it to McCoy. He has had the ball every play since Grant got out of there, and that time Bridgeport got him.
Bridgeport did put a few more people on the outside instead of stunting in the inside, and I think Mike Pachetti there made a nice stop to.
Loss of 1 on the play, 2nd down, 11.
He lost one, and 44, Eichhoff back in. He's just a junior.
Yeah, Fairbanks has a lot of underclassmen at their skill position. I think most of their line are seniors.
That
but
sounds familiar, doesn't
yes,
it?
Yes, it is. Very familiar. I'm graduating all of our offensive line, but have most of our skilled people back.
2nd and 11. McCoy lost one. Now he's going to throw. Rushed by Boder, and it's out there and caught.
Great catch by Jim Hodges.
And boy, Hodges made the catch, but Brian Boder at 255 was bearing down on Phelps, and you know Phelps has been sitting over there watching Mr. Boder all day and watching, boy, that guy hit me, and at the time he was chasing him.
And Omar Foster, a defensive tackle, was down to make the tackle on a pass reception. Great quickness by Omar.
That ball was up there for grabs, and the big tight end went up and got it. He's been doing it all year for Fairbanks, catching a lot of balls from his tight end position. Defense, defense, the chant from the Bridgeport crowd on this side. Under a minute to go in the 3rd, and McCoy is stopped.
Little underneath handoff there and a quick draw.
Bugaj and Fisher.
I'm sure this is 4-down territory here. Although there's 4 substitutions coming in, it looks like a field goal is a possibility here. The tee has come in, so it looks like Fairbanks is trying to get that 0 off the board.
Derek Nickel is the kicker. He'll be out of the hole of Jonathan Purdy, number 16. This will be about a 31-yarder. And then there's a flag.
There's a flag on the play.
Lined up in the neutral zone, maybe? Offside, Bridgeport. Wow. That'll make it a little closer from Nickel, and that might change Ted Wierzbicki's decision. I don't know.
That's what I was thinking. Would Ted decide here, since it's 4th and 5, that it's worth a gamble to try and get 6 instead of 3?
Well, it'll make it a 21-yarder. No,
26-yarder, yes. He obviously has all kind of faith in
watch for a long
Derek
count.
Nickel.
So Derek Nickel will attempt a field goal. They'll put it down at the 16. That'll make a 26-yard attempt by Nickel. And the kick is up and off to the right. No good. So Bridgeport keeps on pitching the shutout.
They've had 5 of them during the year, and there's nothing they'd love more than to have their 6th one here in their first playoff game.
And the Bridgeport faithful loves it here. That will be the end of the 3rd quarter of play. So we'll come back to Newark after this. It's 30-0 Dogs on News Channel 7. Ready to start the 4th quarter here in Newark. Mike Anthony, Terry Depew from Lindsley.
That was a very close, contested third quarter. I would have guessed that the stats were pretty even in that quarter.
Now they go back to Whitmore, who stood up at the line of scrimmage. But this reminds me a lot of the Wheeling Park Brook game that we had earlier, and when Wheeling Park jumped out to an early lead and just played conservatively in the second half to hang on to win. Nothing wrong with that, especially with being up 30-0, and Bridgeport being a conservative team,
exactly
would
right.
like to just run that clock.
Bridgeport's doing exactly what they want to do, right? What Coach Goodrich would like. They're still in full command of the game. They don't need to score any more points to win the game. They're working on their ground attack, working on the fundamentals that got them to this point.
And here's Baker to the 35-yard line, and Bridgeport moves the football with Ron Baker. That's a third back they can throw at you.
And again, the same play that Ron scored on earlier that was called back, that's Bridgeport's favorite play. They run it left with Baker, they run it right with Whitmore.
1st and 10 at the 36. Bridgeport finally gets a first down. They didn't have many of them in that third quarter.
I think that might have been their first down of the half, if memory serves me correct.
And they go to the ground. It's Boder switching hands and carrying tacklers about the 45-yard line.
I would think that's what we're going to see for the rest of this game.
Way to go on a limb, Terry.
That's it.
No wonder you're as good. No wonder you're a 10-0 coach.
That's a bold statement right there. But I think Bridgeport does. They want to work on their fundamentals. They want the offensive line to fire out and try and control the line of scrimmage like they were doing earlier in the game and just alternate ball carries in that backfield.
2nd and 1. They can do a lot of things here, and they run the second back through, and Whitmore is hitting the backfield. Roskovich is actually taken down on that. Might have been tackling Whitmore as the hand was still into the gut of Whitmore.
There, a good stunt by the inside linebacker, Reinhardt, and the big boy up front, Gregory, had a good charge up front.
And Whitmore comes off the field holding his right wrist.
I don't know if he's hurt or just angry.
Right.
I think some of both.
Of course, the expert training staff, Sarge Cordery, is down there.
Sarge will take care of him. He'll make him better.
He already has a tape, so what else could he do?
Right.
3rd and 5. Baker struggles for about 2. Will be short of the first down, and Bridgeport's going to punt it again.
Again, to all the credit in the world to Fairbanks, they could have gone in at halftime and just died, but Coach Wiersbecki has his team playing extremely well. They're playing like a quality championship team would play.
10-0, and a lot of people wondered about some of the teams that they played. They actually lost their first game 33-3, but later were declared the winner of that football game when the team they played had an eligible player.
Yeah,
Bridgeport's going for it on 4th and 3.
Surprise.
Baker gets the first down.
A quick count before the defense was quite ready and didn't realize that they were going for it. Good move by Coach
Goodrich.
Catching him off balance.
Number 24, Ryan Miller, was back to receive a punt and quickly ran up to play a safety. But Bridgeport goes with it 4th and 3, and hey, with a 30-point lead, that's not a tough decision.
No, that's right. Again, the game is not in jeopardy, so you can do about what you would like to do here.
And now Fairbanks is running guys on and off. They go to Boder. Spins into Panther territory. Number 50 was there to make the initial hit, Whiteside, and he was drug about 3 or 4 yards, and Boder usually does that.
Yeah, again, nobody's going to stop him on the first hit. It's going to take 3 or 4 teammates to bring him down. A good, positive first down yardage for him. Can do most anything they want here on 2nd down.
So Bridgeport converts 3 4th downs tonight.
And I see Whitmer's back in there, so his hand wasn't too bad.
Here's Baker on the quick toss. He has 10 yards and more, about 12. Boy, they're using all their cylinders in that backfield tonight.
Boy, and he's looking good. He's getting more carries than he normally gets and is responding very well. Which is a good idea, because as Bridgeport moves on these playoffs, they're going to need every weapon to remain contenders.
And the Dogs are moving the football 1st and 10, line of scrimmage, the 41. Roscoe to Widmore. And he bounces outside, and Whitty's finally getting some running room here.
Again, those excellent feet. He comes to the line. There's no hole right there. He gathers his feet, makes a darting move, runs to the outside, picks up another 5 or 6 yards. That's what makes him an extremely tough runner. He's got his feet and the speed to outrun people. He's got the strength to run over people.
The Bridgeport offensive line has done an outstanding job tonight. Fisher, Mullen, Piketty, Bugai, and who am I missing? The left tackle, Miles.
Miles, yes. Yeah, they've done an outstanding job, and we haven't given them the credit that they deserve.
Quick toss, Widmore. Turns it back in. And is wrestled down, and again, the secondary, Josh Hackett, comes up and makes a stop. So Bridgeport's finally, after sleeping in the 3rd quarter, moving the football in the 4th.
Yeah, they just didn't quite have the same intensity, and understandably in that 3rd quarter, but it looks like they've stepped it up here in the 4th quarter.
And you know how hard that is, getting kids motivated with a big halftime lead, come out in the 3rd quarter, and maybe took a timeout by Matt Johnson to jump in there, start ringing some heads and saying, hey, guys.
Yeah, I think so, because it really is. It's easy to get kids excited at the beginning of the game, but when you have a big halftime lead, it's really tough to keep them in that level of intensity.
Under the 7-minute mark, and Roskovich hands to Boder. And Boder's gotten some big carries tonight. This well over his average of carries, probably. That's his 17th carry. He has 123 yards.
Yeah, this 4th quarter looks a lot like the 1st quarter. Just methodically coming out, alternating ball carriers, getting 4 or 5 yards a carry, and moving the ball down the field.
But Brian Widmore with 147. Brian Boder, 125. First game of the year against St. John's, they scored 50, and they were both over 100 in that game. Quick toss, Baker. He's getting more carries than he wants. Gets the first down, and boy, that typifies the night for the Bulldogs.
It looked like Boder must have had the ball because it took the whole white team to bring him down. He's running extremely hard tonight. I see another Bridgeport player down on the far sideline. I can't tell who that is.
I think it was one of the tight ends. Boy, Ron Baker is really impressed tonight, Terry. He's only averages 4 carries a game, and he already has 10. It's Mike Piketty, and he had a knee last week in the game with you, Terry, and he mentioned to me that he was about 99 to 100%, so he was almost ready to go tonight, and believe me, he's one of the most intense guys on that Bridgeport roster.
Oh, I'm sure he's the emotional leader out there on the field, no question about it. He's looks like he got it dinged a little bit, but if I know Mike, a play or two, and he'll be right back in the ball game.
We'll see who they replace Piketty with. Probably Ronnie Woods, 65. He's like the backup lineman extraordinaire. Whoever comes out, Woods goes in.
He plays all 5 positions, huh?
Woods is in there, 65, and we're down to 6 minutes. Hand off to Boder. Stiff arm, and a head down, and the big 255-pound senior is bullying his way.
Not going to stop him. They got him turned around a little bit, but he gained 3 yards running backwards.
And we apologize for some of the tower shots and some of the high cameras here, but this isn't the best place to do a football game when you have cameras up here.
And the cameras are behind the light tower, so not many options.
And New Vision Video out of Woodsfield is doing an outstanding job with the coverage in a nice game. 5.5 to go. And Baker with his 11th carry.
Again, momentarily stopped at line of scrimmage, but able to break a tackle and get a surge and gain another 4 or 5 yards.
And Boder is approaching Widmore rushing yard numbers. Needs like 16 more to catch him up, but boy, would that be something for either Crestline or the other team to prepare for next year. 2 backs next week, 2 backs gaining 150 yards.
And a third back who's got good numbers himself, so they'll have to prepare for all 3 of them.
Thanks for joining us tonight on News Channel 7 Sports. Mike Anthony and the head coach of Lindsley, Terry Depew, and an outstanding 10-0 season for you, Terry. How about the game against Columbus Bishop Ready, where you have the big 77-yard drive, and your team was destined to meet Bridgeport, both teams 9-0, and The game you played against Bridgeport was not a slouch by any means.
No, people in the Valley have been talking about 2 9-0 teams playing for 6 weeks prior to it, and both of us had some tough games. Bridgeport had to beat Union Local in 5 seconds, and we had to beat Columbus Bishop Reedy in the last 6 seconds to both make it there at 9-0.
We knew it was destiny.
I guess so. I wish somebody would have told me that early in the season so I wouldn't have to worry so much for the first 9 games.
And you get to finally answer some questions and talk about it.
That's right.
First and goal at the 9-yard line. A full house wishbone backfield in the double tight. That's Bridgeport football. Boder feeling his way around and finally goes down. He runs so low to the ground. You know, yeah. Most of the tackles this year are cuts from his knee down, and he's used to being hit down there, and it makes him even run even lower.
Yeah, I think that's an adjustment he made because nobody's going to hit him upstairs. And I know he said before that after games his knees and shins are extremely sore from getting all the contact. So he's made a few adjustments to try and get a little bit lower, but the lower he goes, the lower the defense goes.
For him to get low and to have that 255-pound frame blasting at you, he's as big as Division I fullbacks like Mark Edwards and others.
Oh, I'm sure he's bigger than most college fullbacks.
Second and goal, 8-yard line. Roskovich has the ball in the bootleg. He has plenty of room and decides to tuck it in. Well, if he keeps going wide, he had Buddy Ellerick to play with in the end zone. He could have drawn the defender up and dumped it, or he could have run the football, and he cuts it in where there's trouble. But, of course, we have a better view than he has from down there.
Right. Good coverage in the end zone, though, by number 9, Stoney Gibson. Covered his receiver well and made Chad turn it up inside before he was ready to.
So it's third and goal, 7-yard line.
Be interesting to see here whether Bridgeport puts the ball in the air again. 2 tight end sets, so I don't know.
Hard to see, man. Widmore inside the 5. The official falls. Touchdown.
Touchdown.
7 yards for Brian Widmore into the end zone. His 3rd touchdown of the night. And Bridgeport leads 36-0.
Well, when you're down close, you go to your bread and butter. Brian Widmore is doing it for him all year and did it one more time tonight. Again, another good hole up front. Makes some good cuts and
wow.
Defense makes contact on a 2 or 3 yard line. There's that good strength to be able to explode and drag people into the end zone.
You're seeing one of the premier backs in the state of Ohio, and Brian Widmore with 3 touchdowns tonight. Marco Pizzonis, point after. Good. 37-0 Dogs. Wow.
If there's a more potent offensive backfield anywhere around, I know I haven't seen it. I don't know what's ahead in the playoffs, but there can't be many teams with the caliber of backs that Bridgeport has.
Brian Widmore, 34 touchdowns, and driving up here, we were sort of kidding about how many guys have been over the 30 touchdown mark in Ohio Valley history. We've thrown around some big names. We don't know quite exactly. We know Mr. McGee was awful close at Wheeling Central, if not over, and we apologize if he was. We know
Brian Swisher from Sistersville several years ago.
Of course, Terry Snively in his playing days, way over that 30 touchdown
But
mark.
I don't think you need many fingers on that second hand to count the ones who are.
You're right.
No question, Brian Widmore is in an elite group.
Widmore with 154 yards. I'm sorry. Follows up his 140-something yard performance against you last week.
It would be my guess that that's where he's going to finish tonight. 24 carries for 154 yards.
10 out of 11 games, Widmore has rushed for 100 or better. The Union Local game, the only one, Widmore was held under 100, but the Dogs still won, and they'll take that. And Pizzoni kicking off instead of Doty, and it's taken it to 16-yard line. McCoy streaking up the middle. He has Kesterson to beat, and Brian Hawk loses him up high and brings him down.
Brian Kesterson doing his job out there. He's the safety. He's not expected to go down and make a tackle. He's there just for that purpose. If the ball carrier breaks it through, he probably has better speed than anybody else on the field and made a good short tackle.
Wow, and you saw McCoy bust up the middle, and
the freshman quarterback returns, so David Grant must be done for the night.
Great field position for Fairbanks. He was turned away last time, and now Bridgeport is shuffling around. McCoy with a lead blocked by Nickel. Breaks a couple of tackles, and McCracken gets him. He actually ran through some arm tackles, and good moves that time. Chaz Melko, 25, came up, and McCoy swiped him and ran through it.
JR has got very efficient moves. They're not really elaborate, but just little jukes to make people miss, and he can do it at full speed. It's easy to see why he was very successful this year.
We're ticking down to the 3-minute mark, and Bridgeport's going to win their first ever playoff game.
You see, Bridgeport has a few new defensive people in there, getting a little playoff experience.
McCoy wrapped up, and it's been all McCoy in virtually the second half, except for the one pass. I think Nickel rushed once, but it's been all McCoy, and don't know what happened to David Grant. He has the pads off on the far side, and they're wrapping up a knee, it looks like.
I see Joe Holler, number 42, is in the defensive line.
Now there are flags. There are flags, and the official was counting, so that has to be too many men on the field for Bridgeport.
I think Bridgeport made some defensive substitutions and put a few extra guys in and forgot to take one extra one out.
The referee was counting the number of players. That's the old bunt signal.
You need Thomas Bechtel up here, the official, to interpret those.
Well, he was counting Bridgeport players, so I think there were too many on, or and now Jim Fisher runs out of there. The uniforms look so much alike, and then all the black, it's hard to tell and count. Now Matt Johnson comes out to talk to his defense. But Bridgeport looks impressive, Terry. 37-0, and you know in the back of their minds they want the shutout here.
Oh, no question about it. The fans do. The last time Fairbanks was close, all the fans were up cheering for that shutout, so nothing they'd like better. I mean, they're perfectly happy with a win, but a shutout would be that much better.
Illegal participation penalty. We sorted it out up here.
That means there's 12 people on the field instead of 11.
I know a little something about this, see that? So Fairbanks will have the ball at about the 11. Go ahead, Coach.
Matt Johnson's using a page out of Coach Buckwack's playbook.
Oh, yeah.
And when you ask him what kind of defense he'd like to play, he said, I'd play a 14-man if I could get away with it. The more you can play, the better you can.
And now Bridgeport's warming up their freshman quarterback, Matt DeVore. Maybe he'll get a little snap here. Roskovich is taking the pads off on the sideline.
I would think the Bridgeport starters are probably done, and a little experience and a little memory for some of these young players on the Bridgeport sidelines.
Because the deeper you go in the state of Ohio, you don't get many of these blowout victories, believe me.
No, they ought to enjoy this one and take their kids out while they're healthy and get ready for next week.
And the freshman's back to fire, and it is behind the man. McCracken has the pick at the 9. Is he going to go the distance? The freshman's trying to run down the sophomore.
He's going down. Don't clip him.
Do not clip now. Touchdown.
About 91
yards, maybe. Wayne McCracken. 89 yards. His second pick
for the sophomore safety
of the night. And the sophomore comes up huge. I didn't know if he was going to make it all the way, but he had enough energy.
What a great exclamation point here to this game.
Wow.
It started with the Bridgeport defense recording a safety. Now they pick one off and return it for a touchdown. He started the game with a score and ended it with a score.
I was looking for McCoy because I thought he might be the only one to track him down with an angle. Damon Phelps, the freshman quarterback, could not get there, and McCracken goes 89 yards. Wow. His second pick of the night results in a touchdown. Marco Pizzoni, automatic again. 44-0.
And that's just how explosive this Bridgeport team could be. They come out in the second half, it looked like things were a little lackluster. In 2 minutes time, 3 minutes time, they put 14 more points on the board.
I don't think Coach Goodrich, Coach Torbett, Coach Johnson would have thunk it earlier in the week, finding a 10-0 Fairbanks team.
Yeah.
Bridgeport jumped out 30-zip at half, and they've increased that to 44 in the fourth.
I'm sure they wouldn't even allow themselves to think or dream about being this successful. but a lot of good hard work during the season, a lot of preparation, and getting our kids ready to play the game as a result. And it's a tough break for Coach Wiersbecky and his team. I know they're in the playoffs for the first time ever. Quality football team. It's not an accident that anybody can go 10-0, and they certainly have not given up. They've just been a little outmatched tonight.
Phelps completes his first ball, but it's to the other team, and it goes 89 the other way.
Tough way for a young freshman to get initiated.
Yeah, but he drove the team down the football field.
He's played very well since he's been in, yes.
Grant with the bum knee on the far sideline, and Bridgeport fans are starting to file out, and they'll be headed back to Wheeling a little early. And Bridgeport celebrate the victory, but
they'll go
Bridgeport
back.
staff will only celebrate this weekend and get back to work Sunday with the exchange of tapes. See how
That's
that
it.
is. And
The fans will go back, get the radio on, and find out which direction they're going next week.
And the kick is bobbled at the 21. The Dogs are there to cover it. At the 22, getting some nice free licks in there. A lot of the young Bulldogs in there now.
Looked like Andrew Freeman there maybe was on the tackle, number 18.
Carl Price, number 20, was also there too.
Looks like we have a whole new defensive unit here, Mike.
2.5 to go from Newark's White Field. Thanks for joining us on News Channel 7. Mike Anthony and Terry Depew, the head coach of the unbeaten Lindsley Cadets, and looks like Bridgeport's just clicking on all cylinders again tonight.
Sure are.
McCoy.
Another nice run, nice break outside.
And McCracken forces him out of bounds.
Boys, he had a big week, or a big night. He's all over the field tonight.
Both the sophomores there, McCoy and McCracken. We mentioned so many similarities, we didn't even dig into that one. McCoy, McCracken,
that's it. Sophomore.
Right. Coach Goodrich and his good buddy Ted Wiersbicki grew up together. Of course, Wiersbicki in '85 graduate of Bridgeport High School. And Goodrich in '80 graduate. Handoff is to Nickel, straight ahead. McCracken misses the tackle, he runs right through it. Good job by Nickel to get down to the 40.
That quick hitter that was successful for him early. Fullbacks had a good night for them.
Well, when you take Boder and the rest of the offensive linemen out, is there any stranger to running the football now?
No, not at all.
Boder, Pichetti, Fisher. The entire defense is out of there except for McCracken, 13. Buddy Ellerick, 87, is out there. Ronnie Woods also. And they give it to McCoy, who is stopped in the backfield.
And this young Bulldog defense is doing a really nice job containing the first team from Fairbanks.
Robert Thomas and Buddy Ellerick were in there. We're winding down to a minute and a half, Terry, and man, the Dogs just looked good.
Yeah, it's been an impressive performance for them all the way around. Looks like they're going to make some noise in the state playoffs in the Division 6.
154 for Whitty and 132 for Boder.
What a well-balanced offensive attack. Give future teams a headache preparing for that.
Baker, 46.
And 11 carries. That's got to be his game high for the year. Number of carries.
It all started with the Bridgeport safety. It was 2-0. Widmore scored one of his 3 touchdowns from 19 yards out. They went for 2 and Kesterson caught a pass. He went in to make it 10-0 Bridgeport. Kesterson scored again on a 39-yard touchdown. Roskovich ran in from 3. Widmore went from 30. It was 30 zip at half. Widmore from 36 in the 4th, and Wayne McCracken took one 89 yards, and that is your 3-minute scoring summary.
A lot of different ways by a lot of different people. There's a little reverse.
There's a reverse. Where's Drummond? Where's Drummond?
Here he comes.
Not quite, and he runs through some tackles. Stoney Gibson. A lot of people were talking about the reverse that Bridgeport ran against you last week, and Drummond came up and made an unbelievable play. But that time, no Drummond, and they get some yardage. See?
Brian Kesterson has some great speed, and we knew that was a very successful play they had run the week before, but Eddie was able to see it happening and use his speed to come out and make a tackle for a loss last week.
29 seconds to go, and Fairbanks calls time, and I know Ted Wiersbicki does not want to get shut out by his good buddy, and He's going to try to stick this in the end zone if he can.
And they're not going to give up. They're playing tough. It shows the class that they've had that got him here, and they're going to play to the gun sounds.
And you knew it wasn't a case where he was running it up, of course, on his good friend, but Bridgeport didn't even throw the ball in the second half. What else can you do except run the football? And they do it every game anyway.
That's right. And it's been a very good high school football game. Great sportsmanship on both sides. There's not been one sign of any negative feelings on either team. And I'm sure after the game, both teams are going to be very complimentary and have a lot of respect for the other.
And they give the game ball to Irene Eney, who missed her first Bridgeport game in over 40 years last week. And they gave her a little hard time about it, Tom Becko and I did, but of course she's out here tonight, and they give her the game ball, and well-deserved.
I'm glad she didn't show up last week, if that was the difference.
Yeah. She misses one game and we get on her. Now she's here and they win big. The freshman wants to throw towards the end zone. Completed the 5, touchdown! There goes the shutout. Ted Versbicki can smile a little bit.
That's it, and to have that freshman quarterback come back after throwing an interception and throw a touchdown pass.
I'm sure Rick Goodrich has a smile on his face, and Ted Versbicki says, "Ha, you're not shutting me out."
I'm sure that Rick didn't mind that a bit. He'd like to have a shutout, but
some great stories about growing up. And
sure.
We talked to Ted before the game, and he said, you know, I'd rather be playing on my aunt's football field back in
something
back
about the Turkey Bowl back home in the neighborhood.
He said that field was in better shape than this one, he said, but they grew up together.
Obviously good friends, and it'll be fun for them to get together after and talk about this.
Especially for Goodrich. Down to
Especially
21.
for Goodrich.
Going for 2. And they pitch to McCoy. He'll be stopped at the 5-yard line, so it'll be 44-6.
Whole host of the new Bridgeport defense there, making this tackle.
Oh, Damon Phelps coming in as a freshman and throwing a touchdown. Good arm on that, too. He lost
Very good. Looks like he's going to play a lot of football before he graduates. He threw that ball extremely well, hit him in stride, right over the shoulder of the defensive player. It's been an outstanding game.
Brian Whitmore, 154 yards, 3 touchdowns, another game for the senior. Boder 132 on 19 carries, and Baker 46. The wishbone from the Dogs rolling again, and they run behind Piketty and Fisher on that right side, and they chewed up some big yardage, and the game was won early in the first half with that line of scrimmage.
Exactly. Up front, they were able to open some big holes, and it seems like that's routine week after week. That's typical Brian Whitmer numbers. Outstanding year.
McCoy, after rushing for -3 in the first half, has 74 now, and that will probably be his finishing number. Might be his first game under 100.
But Fairbanks has a lot of underclassmen, especially their skilled people, and I would expect Coach Versbicki has his team ready to go and might see them back in the playoffs next year.
The kick is down and taken by Clint Cash. Now, is that number 11 Cash?
Yes, I think it was.
No, that's 18 Freeman.
18 Freeman.
I knew it wasn't Cash because he's out for the season with an injury. It looked like an 11 from over there.
Well, I have my glasses on, but it's still hard to see some of those numbers.
So 17 seconds, and they will give the young man, Matt DeVore, the freshman, a chance to come in here. And who would have thought we'd see 2 freshmen playing quarterback in the 4th quarter of this game?
In a state playoff high school football game. That's great for both of them.
So both teams get a taste of the postseason, but it's going to be Bridgeport advancing on. A lot of fresh backs in there, but still the double tight set. Do they have a...
No, I think they had 10 people in there.
9 or 10 guys out there.
9 or 10. They might not have made it to 10.
I don't think Bridgeport cares because the ball game is over. 44-6. Bridgeport wins its first ever playoff game in the state of Ohio, and Rick Goodrich runs his record to 18-3. What a job this coaching staff has done turning this Bridgeport football program around. Coming from back 2-8, 0-10 years ago to 8-2, and now with their 10th win, it's just the 1 loss, and Bridgeport will move in to next week's play, a game which you can see right here again next week on News Channel 7. Day and time to be determined this weekend.
I know that the Bridgeport coaching staff does an excellent job. They're nothing but a class group, and it's got to be a great confidence builder for their staff and the entire team, knowing that they can play in the state playoffs and play extremely well.
Brian Widmore, 24 rushes, 154. Boder, 19 for 132. Baker, 11 and 46. The bone was rolling for Bridgeport.
Sure was. It's tough to stop when you got three backs back there that you can alternate the ball to, all run very successfully. If all three of them are doing that, they block for each other. They're very unselfish, putting behind that good offensive line, and you get those kind of numbers.
What a job Rick Goodrich has done. We'll come back and have some post-game from Newark's Whitefield. Final score, Bridgeport 44 and Fairbanks 6. We're back after this on News Channel 7.
When you buy a
The post-game show, the Bridgeport Bulldogs win their first ever state playoff football game. Thanks for coming back with this, Mike Anthony and Terry Depew, and Coach Blinsley. But this is the head coach of Bridgeport, who had just won a big game, and you beat your good buddy, and you get the first win for Bridgeport in state playoffs ever. Talk about the big win, Coach.
That's a nice feeling. It's great for the community, the fans. They've waited a long time just to get here and get a win for them. It's great.
Terry, you have a couple of questions for him?
No, but congratulations, Coach. I know it's a great victory for you. You got an excellent team. They played very hard. They were well prepared and very deserving, and I hope you win a lot more.
You beat your good buddy. What did you guys say after the game?
He said, congratulations. Hope you go all the way. And see you next game.
They scored on you. You wanted to pitch the shot against your buddy, and I'm sure he was smiling when they scored.
Yeah, I was a little questioning that field goal he went for. I don't know what he was thinking, but that's first year mistake.
But of course, Ted and you're good buddies, and this field is nothing like old Ants. You can split Turkey Bowl.
Not like Harrington Memorial Stadium for Turkey Bowl.
That's a big win for you overall anyway. Let's talk to some of your performers out here. Brian Widmore, over 150 yards and 3 more touchdowns. What do you think about the game tonight? You had another great night.
Well, I was prepared as well. Boder, he was definitely he did a great job. He got the rushing area and
Brian Boner was the lead blocker for Mr. Widmore a lot tonight. Pancaking people everywhere, leaving a rushing for over 130. A big night for you. Good job tonight.
Well, yeah, we just wanted to establish going up early. We want to send a message to the rest of the team in the playoffs. We're going to come out here with 10-6 or 10-9. We're going to come out. That's what we wanted to do.
30-0 at halftime, and what happened in the third quarter? You guys want to run the clock.
But, you got to give them a look. They're a 10-0 team. They're not going to come out and just roll over, belly up for us. I mean, hey, you probably shoot them out in the locker room. You're going to pumped up with them.
Hey,
come out and play hard.
Great game, though.
Thanks a lot.
130-something yards rushing and a big day for Mr. Boder. Go to the shower and good trip back home. All right, buddy. Chad Roskovich, the quarterback of the Bridgeport Bulldogs, a couple of passes tonight. 2 on a 1 drive equivalent. The big one to Mr. Kessler for a touchdown. But talk about the team's play tonight.
We prepared all week for this. We had our whole school pumped up, community, teams were pumped. We were ready to go. We came out. We knew they were big, but we knew we were more physical now. So we went out to the top.
What about your rushing touchdown?
Coach Johnson called that when he was screaming option. They were all shooting the gap, so it was wide open. Nice block by Nick down there.
Our fans appreciate it.
Great play, but was it a haircut?
It was a haircut.
Let's bring him in over here. Great job of the quarterback, Chad Roskovich. Wayne McCracken, all right, 2 interceptions tonight. The last one, an 89-yarder for a touchdown. I didn't think you were going to get all the way down in there. You were getting tired towards the end.
Yeah, I was trying to get
Talk about the team's win tonight. It's a huge win in the playoffs for Bridgeport.
Yeah, it's a real good win. We hope to get 3 more and go all the way.
Big win. Great job by Wayne McCracken. Sophomore with 2 interceptions tonight as Bridgeport wins. Let's bring the head coach, Rick Goodrich, back in. Come back in here, Coach Goodrich. Can't say much more. Coach Depew, if you want to step back in here, we'll wrap it up here from Newark's Whitefield. 44-6 total dominance, and the bone was working. 3 rushers really showing next week's opponents, and you have 3 rushers.
Yeah, we like the effort, and we had 3 good backs, and our line takes charge. And, it was just
a couple of gutsy 4th down. You're going for it. The crowd was into it.
If you're going to stop us, we don't deserve it. So that's where we are.
Coach Goodrich and the Bulldogs win their first ever state playoff game. Terry Depew, one final comment?
No, I think next opponent's going to have a tough time stopping this team. They're on a roll and just going to get better and better.
All right, Greg. So Bridgeport wins 44-6. It's a great job of the coaching staff. Rick Goodrich has the Bulldogs one game deep into the playoffs. The next game will be next week right here on News Channel 7. We'll have the game for you. Wherever it's going to be, we'll find out day and time later on in the weekend. Well, from Newark Whitefield, Mike Anthony and Terry DePue with the victorious head coach Rick Goodrich saying so long. A special presentation of News Channel 7 Sports, your official Super 6 television station. Good night from Newark, where Bridgeport wins. So long, everybody.
She had the fire.
He's played very well since he's been in, yes.
Grant with the bum knee on the far sideline, and Bridgeport fans are starting to file out, and they'll be headed back to Wheeling a little early. And Bridgeport celebrate the victory, but
they'll go
Bridgeport
back.
Staff will only celebrate this weekend and get back to work Sunday with the exchange of tapes. See how
That's
that
it.
is. And
The fans will go back, get the radio on, and find out which direction they're going next week.
And the kick is bobbled at the 21. The Dogs are there to cover it at the 22. Getting some nice free licks in there. A lot of the young Bulldogs in there now.
Looked like Andrew Freeman there maybe was on the tackle, number 18.
Carl Price, number 20, was also there too.
Looks like we have a whole new defensive unit here, Mike.
2.5 to go from Newark's Whitefield. Thanks for joining us on News Channel 7. Mike Anthony and Terry DePue, the head coach of the unbeaten Lindsley Cadets, and looks like Bridgeport's just clicking on all cylinders again tonight.
Sure are.
McCoy.
Another nice run, nice break outside.
And McCracken forces him out of bounds.
Boys, he had a big week, or a big night. He's all over the field tonight.
Both the sophomores there, McCoy and McCracken. We mentioned so many similarities, we didn't even dig into that one. McCoy, McCracken, and
that's it. Sophomore.
Right. Coach Goodrich and his good buddy Ted Wierzbicki grew up together. Of course, Wierzbicki in '85 graduated of Bridgeport High School. And Goodrich in '80 graduate. Handoff is to Nickel, straight ahead. McCracken misses the tackle, he runs right through it. Good job by Nickel to get down to the 40.
That quick hitter that was successful for him early. Fullbacks had a good night for them.
Well, when you take Boder and the rest of the offensive linemen out, is there any stranger they're running the football now?
No, not at all.
Boder, Piketty, Fisher. The entire defense is out of there except for McCracken.